Hey, boys and girls, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, except for my interview with Allen Rowe. It's been the Coin Geek at Old Pueblo Coin, and today I have the privilege of sitting down and talking with Allen Rowe from Northern Nevada Coin about his coin journey and a little bit about the coin market, where it's been and where it's going. And it's something that if you sit and listen, you get to hear lots of bits of wisdom kind of scattered throughout as we talk some stories about coins, coin collecting, and the coin journey. So thanks for watching and enjoy. All right, and I'm with Allen Rowe from Northern Nevada Coin, also brokencc.com. That's the correct web address, right?
Well, we've changed it back to northernNevadaCoin.com,
Okay.
but we're famous for the broken CC dollar, so that's how we started our web addresses.
Okay, so it is Northern Nevada Coin is the main URL to go to.
Yes.
All right. Well, Allen is one of the good guys in the business. I've known Allen for longer than I should have, right? Based on because we're so young, we shouldn't, right? We shouldn't have known each other as long as we have. But for those of you who don't know, Allen's company is in Carson City, right across from the Mint. Is that correct? I got the right.
That is correct.
All right, and over the years, you've been able to also establish a couple other businesses.
Right. We also have a store in Reno, which is where the bigger population of our area is. And then we also have a store in Gardnerville, Nevada, which is just south of Carson City.
All right. So walk us through your childhood. This is not a counseling session here, even though we're on a couch. Like, what got you into coins?
Well, when I was young, I was still at that age where you could find things like wheat pennies and change. You rarely found silver dimes and quarters, but they were out there. And my grandmother saw this innate desire to find value. So she would get coins. She was actually buying them from Littleton Coin Company.
Yeah.
But she would also get coins that came out of her change drawers and whatnot. And she would give me older stuff. And so that's how I started my collection.
Yeah. What did you really get into as a kid? Like certain areas or?
Well, growing up in the later 70s, silver and gold were on the rise. And I kind of didn't really start spending my own money until we were past that rise of $79.80. And so when silver went all the way to almost to $50 and fell back to $14, my dad was like, it might be a smart thing to just buy silver, just start stacking silver, have some silver for the future. And so as a kid, I'd spend my paper out money on buying silver. I started collecting mercury dimes through there because I could find some of the dimes that were a little bit better and in change, well, not in change, but in bulk lots at that time. And so that was my main focus until I kind of put the coins away as I got closer to driving age.
Driving age.
Yes.
I was going to say, so a lot of us, all go through a similar transition because you got grade school and high school and college, and each of those stages of life are so different. So, I mean, at what age was like your heyday of collecting, and then you go into high school? Did you pull back a little bit, or college pull back a little bit, or did you hit the accelerator and move forward?
So I really pulled back out of high school, and then when I was in college, I hit a point where I guess I was about a junior in college, and I went and got my box out of the closet one day. Well, geez, I don't know what the stuff's worth, so I went and bought a magazine. Next thing you know, I'm looking through a magazine trying to figure out what this stuff is worth. I'm also getting enticed by the ads in the magazine, so I'm ordering coins through the ads in the magazine. I'm running to the coin shops around town, and I'm starting to buy coins, and I just don't have a budget at that time. So I'm like, hey, I better sell some of these coins that I bought. So I'm going to buy something different. And I realized that I need to be watching what I'm actually buying. And I can't just believe a magazine price. I need to figure out what a market is. So this was pre-internet days. It was a lot harder to figure those markets out. But that's what I did.
Yeah. So at this point, what part of the country were you living in?
I was living in Reno, Sparks, Reno, Nevada.
Okay, you were okay. All right, close to home is still close to home then.
That's correct.
Okay, all right. I wasn't sure. I talked to so many people, and they're always, they've lived here, they lived there. Pretty soon it's a Johnny Cash song, and you just keep rolling. Right?
I've been everywhere, man.
That's right. That's right. At least someone with good musical taste and good coin taste all in one person. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So what? So you're buying and selling instinctively or out of force, right? So what's the transition for you from like, okay, I'm a collector, now I'm a dealer?
So once I started buying and selling, I was doing bid boards, I was going to little coin shows, I was working my local coin shops, and I had a very small pool to work with, but these guys could see that I was working with stuff. And after I graduated college, I decided that I did not want to go further into the degree that I'd gotten. I'd gotten a degree in medical sciences, speech pathology, and audiology. So I decided I didn't want to get a master's. I just wanted to go into trading. I ended up going to work for one of the local coin shops. And after a year, we formed Northern Nevada Coin. So once Northern Nevada Coin was formed, I started going to shows. I went on the road. I went to all the different places around the country. And after about 5 years, I kind of outgrew the partnership that I was in and just bought my company out.
Oh, okay. That's what I was going to get at next. I was like, okay, so you had a partner that you were working with, and eventually it was like, no, I'm doing this myself now. And then, wow, that's pretty big. How old were you then?
Well, I think I was. Hang on. Backwards math here at the end of the day is not always easy.
No. We've been in a show all day, so we got a lot of grace for
So
for
I was 29 when I bought out my business.
Okay.
Completely.
Okay, man, were you scared?
I was. It was. I had just got married. We bought a house, and here I'm buying out my business, getting ready to start a family.
Yeah.
And that year I was on the road and I was working my tail off.
Oh man.
And to top that off, this was in the late 90s. In the mid to late 90s, the market was really on its ear. Gold was, pushing $250, $300. Silver was down around $6, $7. Things were just cheap. So being cheap is good. You can buy lots of stuff, but it's hard to make profit.
Yeah. Do you think it was easier? Okay, there's a whole transition here with the market over the years, right? And so I first actually started working in the late 90s in a coin shop at Old Pueblo. And so there's a little bit of overlap. It sounds like you were a little earlier than that, but how different were the 90s from the 2000s? Not quite to date, but like there's a transition in there where you're talking the market and you're talking technology. And
so the coin business has benefited tremendously in the late 90s. We had a market where gold and silver were cheap, material was hard to sell, and towards the end of the 90s, the statehood quarter program was coming out, which for the first time in a decade or two actually gave people a place to look for coins that they could collect versus just being boring old clad money with no extra value. To top that off, the internet was just coming out. And so in the very early days of internet, there were, dial-up systems and whatnot. We didn't have many ways to sell on the internet yet, but it was a venue and a gateway to find information and to expose your products to the world. So it was kind of a perfect storm, and the coin market made it through the 90s without exploding, but then it was shortly after that in the early 2000s where we started to see the internet being very relevant in sales. eBay came out, and eBay was a tremendous game changer for a lot of people in the coin business. It gave them access to markets they didn't have.
Right, you had to have your own website and all of the changes that went along with that.
For sure.
So I kind of chuckled at the U.S. Mint thing because the state headquarters, like a lot of people bash on the U.S. Mint, and for many valid reasons. But the coin market, I agree with you, has a lot of thanks to give to the U.S. Mint for that, because that actually did, like when you go to Walgreens and they're selling albums, that's a shift. That changed something, at least for a temporary time period.
Right.
So, yeah, that's a good observation. So we go from what I don't want to say the Gilded Age. That's not really where we were at, right? So, but we go from hustle and grind, the 90s, which a lot of guys remember and a lot of guys also don't remember. I got a pretty broad audience here, and now we've got eBay to compete with. It's it benefits you, but it also can be like you see a shift towards consumer to consumer a little bit, right?
Well, there's benefits and problems for a dealer in a market like that.
Yeah.
And the biggest benefit is that people that are educated, they're confident in what they're purchasing. They're confident in what they're buying. They don't feel like they're taking a shot in the dark.
Yeah.
You know, in the late 90s, the only way to really figure out what stuff that was rare was worth was auction records. And even there, a lot of those were sparse. And my favorite example from the 90s was a local coin shop had bought a 74 Carson City dime. And they brought it to me. Bid was either $4,000 or $5,000. And they said, "What would you pay for this?" Well, I knew the customer that would really want it. And I said, "I would pay 20 grand. And
knock their socks off.
They're like, "Sold." I turned around, I sold the coin for $24,000.
Yeah.
The customer that I actually sold it to, he changed directions a year or two later, but he had been buying, 71cc dimes, 72cc dimes, and a bunch of other things like that of that caliber, and he put it all in a heritage auction in the late 90s. The 74cc dime actually brought right around what I sold it to him for, give or take $1,000. I don't remember if it was more or less. Some of the other coins that he had bought, he'd paid almost double or triple what he actually netted out of it at auction. Nowadays, things like that don't happen because you can see where people are chasing things, where they're not chasing things.
Yeah. There's a lot more in the open.
There's a lot more in the open.
Yeah.
And so collectors feel more confident. You
Yeah.
know? But we are in a wild market now here, so we're seeing things like there was a 71cc quarter in Fair that just brought, what was it, $28,000?
And what in your mind ahead of time, what is that coin? Before it brought that, what do you think that coin, what's that worth?
I would have thought 10 grand.
Yeah.
And I had a young numismatist in Chicago last week before the auction. He came and talked to me. He's like, "Hey, I'm really interested in this coin. It's a PCGS Fair 2 with a CAC sticker. Great, you're gonna chase. You and your dad are gonna chase it, okay?" And they thought they might have a really good shot at it. After the auction, I was getting texts from both of them. "Could you believe how much this thing brought? Oh my gosh, I don't even know what to think." The next day, I had a collector from Dallas call me and say, "Did you see what this thing brought?" And I'm thinking, okay, here's the conversation all over again. But ironically, he told me he chased it to $20,000. So, he said, "I was thinking it might be taking 10 or 12, but he said, I just couldn't stop. And after 20, I just said, Uncle, I give up." So,
and the great part about the story is that neither of those two parties you're talking about got the coin.
No, neither one of them got it. Both of them thought very vastly different amounts, closer to where I was thinking.
10 to 15 at the top.
In my brain. And overall, the coin just soared. So we are seeing some of that right now where coins that are highly desirable are just getting chased by multiple people. So.
Yeah, wow. So it is a wild market. And this is, I kind of call this sometimes the COVID push or something like that, where a lot of new people are in the marketplace. Now I'm seeing, this is just from my eyes, I'm seeing a lot more of a youth movement for the first time I've been doing this 25 years, and this is the first time I've seen a youth movement. Plus I'm seeing a lot of guys in their 40s and 50s, still part of the youth movement, I say, but who are into it for the first time or coming back into it, and so that demand, I think, is really what's helping to push some of these things up, because as soon as you get a lot of new players in, that's where you see rarity really excel, and that's kind of my theory.
It's very true. It's a very good theory that once people start chasing it and you have people looking for rarity, the rare coins are always scarce and always hard to find. But to the youth aspect of it, one of my other dealer friends told me a few years ago, well, when a guy is in his teens or 20s, he really doesn't have money to spend on coins.
Fair.
It's not till a man hits his 30s or 40s, he's successful in his career, that he has extra disposable income. He's built his life, he's built his family, and now he's in the golden years of I'm making good money, I'm in a great career, and I can invest in things that I want to invest in. But conversely, when the statehood quarters came out, here's all these kids, they're young, and their grandparents are buying them the quarter boards, and they're getting them to look through change. Well, they don't have any money at that point, but right now they're kind of...
We're 20 years later.
they're growing up.
They're 40.
They're in their teens, their early teens,
Yeah.
late 20s, early 30s, and now they have money or they've been working on it.
Right.
And a lot of these guys are out there on the internet and they're not hitting the coin shows, but they've started to realize that if they want to grow, if they want to be involved in the business, you've got to put your eyes on a coin. A picture is wonderful, but it does not give you the nuance of what the coin really is. You can't rotate the surface and you can't catch the hairlines.
Right.
You can't catch the mark that's hidden under the toning here. And so to really understand and grade coins, you've got to have them in front of your eyes.
Yeah, I think that is one of my favorite things to kind of tell people too, is photos can be very misleading, and you really have to get something under your nose and train your eye. And so I recommend lots of times for people to get to a show, even if you live out in the Tules somewhere, if you got a regional show that's a few hours away, get there just so you can look at lots of coins. There's a lot of people who live in a coin desert, right? You take it for granted because you're in the industry, I'm in the industry, so we see a lot of coins naturally, right? But I've realized more lately that there's a ton of people that don't have a good coin shop near them, or they're just very rural. I can't even say that right. So getting your eyes on as many coins as possible is going to be really helpful. What's the future like for this? So we're in a hot market, all right? So that can split lots of ways, right? What does this market look like coming down the road? Are we still on the front end of the curve? Is it going to keep going? Like, what's your feel for the market?
Those are the things that nobody can truly predict. Because if we could, we would be either buying up every coin we could find, or we'd be selling everything we had in inventory.
Fair.
But ultimately,
spoken like a dealer, right?
Of course, but you have to look at markets with realisticness.
Yeah.
Not everything goes up forever, and not everything goes down forever. And the times when things are on their ear, like back in the 90s, the guys that were smart were buying coins. They were stacking stuff. They were putting it away. But in the 70s, when the market really shot up, that's when everybody was buying silver when it was almost $50 and gold was $800. And so people were then trying to get their money back out 20, 30 years later.
Yeah. Well, before I let you go, I have to ask you about just some of your favorite coins. Not that you necessarily own today, but just in general. Like, obviously, the Carson Cities come to mind because for anyone who knows your business, they know that the CC market and you kind of go hand in hand, right? But what are some things that just like you love that might surprise somebody, that is just like something that you own or would keep? Or
So I've always liked the Seated Liberty series. I just think the design is one of the prettiest series we've ever done. But conversely, I think that grade is something that I like better than what most people might think. And when I say grade, I like XF coins.
Okay.
And
Nice.
Everybody likes a gem coin, a choice coin, a phenomenal coin. But when it comes down to it, to me, an XF coin tells a story. It's had circulation, and yet it's not beat up, it's not worn out. And so if you can find those perfect choice XF coins, you've got a coin that's had some experience and yet isn't gone. And so, I've handled coins, to the ultra gems where they're top pops and best of the best. I've had the low ball stuff where, guys are starting to collect that now. It's worn to the point where you can barely tell what it is, but you can still distinguish it because of this little marker or that little piece. And, but
so people should be really comfortable not always chasing the top pop. Buy a nice coin and enjoy it, right?
That's right. There's a lot of different aspects. I mean, the guys that are chasing these top pop coins right now, a lot of times they're fighting each other for the one coin that's out there. In our mind, they could be overpaying. Ultimately, are they really overpaying if somebody else is willing to buy it behind them?
You won't know till the future comes, right?
Exactly. And there's guys out there paying really big money for lowball coins that are just the very bottom of the grade. But what it comes down to is buy the coins that you like, that kind of fit your budget. Because if you enjoy what you're doing, you're going to go into an area and you're going to become a little bit more of an expertise in this area.
Right.
And you're going to understand how this date is extremely hard to find there, or that date is extremely hard to find in that grade range.
Yeah.
And you're going to learn what sells, what doesn't sell, and what's available, what's not available.
Yeah. Following your passion in coin collecting is something I preach a lot too. Like, don't chase what everyone else tells you to chase.
Mm-hmm.
Find what you love, because that knowledge that you're going to get is always invaluable. So, yeah.
Well, and ultimately, a lot of people say the word investment with coins, and I've always looked at it as it's not an investment; it's a speculation. You can make money if you happen to get in an area where the market goes, higher and grows in an area where it garnishes more attention. But if you're out for just the money, it becomes more of a challenge in the sense that you don't really like the coin. You're just trying to make a profit.
Yeah.
And you don't get the enjoyment out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Couldn't agree with you more. Well, thank you for your time. How can people get a hold of you, generally speaking?
So the best way to get a hold of me is contact my office at Northern Nevada Coin in Carson City. I do travel a lot. I'm going out to shows. I'm on the road. And so, if you can't contact me directly there, you can speak with one of my associates, or you can get a message to me and I can try and get a hold of you that way. So
yeah, cool. So next time you're at a major show, you'll probably see Allen there. He's usually at any of the major ANAs and in Long Beach and that type of stuff. So if you get to the big shows, you can see Allen there. If not, check out his website. He's always got lots of fun stuff up there. And a wealth of knowledge, and I'd say one of my mentors, someone who's always been willing to give me wisdom with nothing asked in return. And so that's one of the things that makes Allen great. So thanks so much for your time.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Ben.
Thanks. All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. You can go ahead and leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think of this type of content, how much you enjoy it. Go ahead and remember to hit the like button to support us if you'd like to. If you want to support us beyond the way we normally get supported, there's also the little Abraham Lincoln icon somewhere on the screen that you can click on, and we have different membership levels. All right, we'll catch you next time.